have a PhD in Vaishnava theology and science. You're also a member of Bhaktivedanta Institute, which basically is researching through the ancient Vedic sciences based on Puranas. Can you tell us a bit more how do ancient Vedic texts describe the origins of humanity, and how do these texts aligns with your discoveries in your book Forbidden Archaeology?
Well, that's really good question, Inez.
Thank
So
you.
the Vedic cosmology is consciousness based, whereas the modern scientific worldview is matter based. And I think that's an important distinction. If we keep that in mind, we can understand a lot of what the Vedic texts are saying and what I'm trying to do in relationship to them. So, in Forbidden Archaeology, we just talked about stones and bones, yeah, archaeological evidence showing that human beings are far older than modern science allows, going back perhaps as far as the very beginnings of the history of life on Earth. So, what difference does that make? Well, it means we need new explanations for human origins. So, to answer that question, we have to look beyond the stones and bones. I think we have to first understand what a human being is. We should know what it is we're trying to explain. So today, many scientists will say we're purely material beings. We're simply a collection of molecules in competition with each other for survival. And that's all there is to it. And as far as consciousness goes, well, that's just the result of the interaction of chemicals in the brain. And at the time of death, when the chemicals stop interacting, there's no more consciousness. So the Vedic view is different. Consciousness is a symptom of the real self, which has no beginning, no end. It has its own independent existence. Matter doesn't produce consciousness. It's really the other way around. Consciousness produces matter. So this consciousness-based universe has a purpose. You know, we're not accidental creatures in an accidental universe. That's an important thing to understand. The
Yes.
purpose, the purpose of this universe is to give the opportunity to conscious selves to qualify themselves to enter a realm where consciousness can fully express itself, where consciousness is not limited to a bodily vehicle that has a beginning and an end. In other words, birth and death. So, and we also want to be happy, but we find many obstacles to our happiness in this level of existence that we're on now. But there is a place where the true expression of the conscious self can be experienced with no interruption, no mixture of anything unhappy or bad, uh, where truth will be self-evident. We don't have to worry about being deceived or cheated or misinformed, subject to disinformation. So there is a level of existence where that's possible. And the bodily vehicle in which the conscious self can qualify itself to go to that level of existence is the human bodily vehicle. I mean, there are other bodily vehicles, animals, insects, fish, plants, but in those bodily vehicles, it's not possible to achieve the full realization of the potential of the conscious self or spirit. So to me, that indicates the universe has a purpose, and that purpose is achievable in the human form of life only. Therefore, to me, it's not surprising. Indeed, I would expect the human form of bodily vehicle to be available to conscious selves from the beginning of the universe. So I would expect that the fossil record should show that we haven't been here for just a short period of time. We're not just an accident of evolution. There is something special about the human bodily vehicle. There is a purpose to it. And if we understand that, then we can make a success of our lives individually and collectively. Otherwise, if we just think, well, I'm a machine made of molecules in competition with other machines made out of molecules, we get the kind of world that we see around us with conflict on every level of human society. We're destroying our environment. Uh, it's not the best of all worlds.
Mm. Well, could you maybe guide us through some basics of Vedic cosmology? I never had that topic on our podcast, maybe sometimes a little bit, but you are an expert on it. So maybe you can say a little bit more about what do Puranas describe, how, from where does this creation comes, how everything comes to be? Maybe some basics.
Well, it's interesting that our conversation has taken this turn because one of the projects I'm involved in is the Temple of Vedic Planetarium in
Wow, tell us about
Mayapur,
it.
West
Yes.
Bengal, which is meant to answer the kinds of questions that you've asked. It will feature a temple, of course. It's a temple of the Vedic Planetarium.
In India,
But there,
in Mayapur, yes.
in India, it's a sacred place and on the banks of the Ganges River in the state of West Bengal in India. It's a huge project. The structure is already there. I'm part of a group that's responsible for one wing of the structure, which is going to be a museum and planetarium theater with 4 floors of exhibits and a planetarium theater meant to introduce visitors to the concepts of Vedic cosmology. And what the Vedic cosmology does, in my view, is it answers 3 fundamental questions. Who am I? Where am I? And where should I be going? If I don't understand who I really am, then I can't act in my own self-interest because I
Yes.
don't know what the real self is. And neither can I act in the interest of others with whom I'm connected, either directly as relatives or co-workers or citizens. If we don't understand who we really are, we can't act in our own best self-interest. We're going to be doing things that are against our self-interest. Maybe by chance, we'll do some things that are good for the real self, but we won't be doing it in any systematic way. So what the Vedic cosmology tells us is that we are beings of pure consciousness with the features of Sat Chit Ananda, uninterrupted existence, full pleasure, and full knowledge. That is what we really are. Now, however, we're not qualified to exist on that level of reality. So we're in another place, which gives us the opportunity to try to dominate, control, and exploit the resources of matter. That's one purpose of this cosmos that we're in now. I mean, most of the conscious selves are not here. They're on that level of pure consciousness in the spiritual world where they enjoy eternality, knowledge, and bliss, pleasure. So to qualify ourselves to enter that level of reality is our purpose. So where are we now? We're in a reflection of that original reality. It's like if you see a fruit tree on the shore of a lake. On the water is reflected the fruit tree. And if you try to take the fruit from the reflection, you don't get anything. You know, you see it, you see the reflection of the fruit and you go for it, but there's nothing there really. But it points to the existence of the reality that is being reflected. So we have an opportunity in this human form of life to attain that original reality, the reflection of which we're chasing after now, but not succeeding in getting the satisfaction and happiness and wisdom that we desire. So, uh, so who are we? Well, we're spirit souls who are now in the material world, which has been manifested to give us the opportunity to either chase after the illusion, chase after the reflection, or go back to the original reality. That's our choice that each of us has to make. Are we going to do what's necessary to achieve the reality of what we aspire for? Or are we going to chase after the reflection endlessly and remain forever unsatisfied? So, uh, so who are we? Spirit souls in the material world. Where are we? Well, in the material world. There's a spiritual world, but we're not qualified to go there. So where should I be going? I should be going towards the light. Tamasima Jyotirgama, there's one Vedic mantra. Go away from the darkness, go to the light. That's the choice each of us has. Are we going to go for the darkness or are we going to go for the light? So, uh, so who are we? Where are we? Where should we be going? These are the essential questions that the Vedic cosmology attempts to answer.